All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something uh, pretty fascinating, I think.
Okay.
This whole idea that sharing your own experiences, especially if you've had a significant encounter,
Mm-hmm.
and in this case, we're talking about encounters with Jesus.
Right.
Uh, it's not just for, the religious professionals, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be a priest to share about your faith.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're going to be looking at this through the lens of a piece called From Tombs to Testimony, sharing your encounter with Jesus.
Okay.
And a lot of what we're going to be talking about comes from the biblical story that's found in Mark chapter 5.
Okay.
So the mission today is really for you, the listener, is to kind of unpack this idea of how your own personal experiences can actually be a really powerful way to share your faith and why this could actually be important to you.
Yeah.
No matter where you're coming from or what you believe right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of times there's this feeling that in order to talk about something so personal, especially when it comes to matters of faith,
Right.
it's like you need to have some kind of official stamp of approval,
Yeah.
or you need to have years and years of training.
Exactly, yeah.
But what's really cool about this piece that we're looking at is how it points to this much more direct
Yeah.
and maybe even more compelling approach, and that's the power of your own story.
Okay, so to kind of get into this a little bit, let's look at the guy that's featured in Mark chapter 5.
Okay.
The source actually calls him the unlikely evangelist.
Mm-hmm.
Can you maybe paint a picture for us
Yeah.
of who this guy was before his life took this pretty wild turn? Like, what was his situation?
Yeah. So, when you first meet this guy, what's really striking is just how severe his circumstances were.
Yeah,
Like, he's not just down on his luck.
right.
He's living among tombs, completely isolated from everyone else.
Oh, wow.
And the text actually makes it a point to say that he was tormented. No one could help him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, that phrase really just kind of jumps out at you,
Yeah.
It's speaking to a level of suffering that was just beyond, I think, any kind of human solution.
Yeah,
This wasn't just a guy who was just kind of living a normal life, within the bounds of his community.
right.
This was something else entirely.
Yeah, totally.
And then as the story goes, Jesus arrives, casts out these demons, and the source material we're looking at actually highlights that he was completely changed.
That's huge.
Yeah, and it's not just like a minor improvement, right?
Right.
We're talking about like a fundamental shift in who this guy was as a person.
So after going through something that profound, having that experience,
Hmm.
it seems like it would be pretty natural for him to want to just stay by Jesus' side, right?
Right.
To follow him around.
Yeah.
Just because you would think he would want to stay connected to the source of that kind of dramatic healing, right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He recognized just how big of a deal this was. And his first thought was like, I want to stay here.
Yeah.
But this is where it kind of takes a turn. Because Jesus doesn't say, all right, well, come with me then.
Okay.
He actually gives him something very specific to do. He's like, go home to your people and report to them what the Lord has done for you.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he's sending him off to some faraway land,
No.
right? Or asking him to explain some super complex theological argument.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's sending him right back to the people who know him best,
right.
to the people who knew what he was like before.
His community.
Yeah, and his message isn't, a super long sermon or something
Yeah.
like that.
No.
It's really simple.
It's literally just what Jesus did for me.
Yeah.
It's a personal account of
yeah.
his own experience.
And what's the result of all this?
Well, the people are amazed, right?
Yeah.
Their reaction wasn't based on some deep understanding of theology or anything like that. It was based on seeing this incredible transformation
right.
in someone that they knew personally.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so From Tombs to Testimony takes all this and it pulls out some, I think, really insightful applications
Yeah.
that, you, the listener, might be able to connect with in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the power of personal transformation.
Mm-hmm.
How does this guy's story help us to understand this idea?
I think what's really interesting here is that it kind of flips the way we normally think about this.
Okay.
We often think that we need to have all the answers,
Right.
or that we need to be at a certain level, spiritually before we can share anything meaningful.
Yeah.
But this story and how this source is interpreting it suggests that it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
It's saying that encountering something significant, something that really changes you,
Yeah.
that is the starting point.
Okay.
That becomes the most convincing evidence you have.
Interesting.
It's not about trying to win an argument.
Yeah.
It's about the reality of personal change. Right.
So the question is, have you experienced something that's changed the way you look at things?
Right.
Or something that's changed your life?
Right.
Because that could be your testimony.
Yeah, and it takes the pressure off of having to be like a Bible scholar,
Exactly.
to share your faith.
Yeah.
The second takeaway that the piece highlights is serving where you are, which I think is especially relevant for a lot of us who don't think of ourselves as being in ministry, you know?
Right.
It's like we're not pastors,
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what does it actually mean to make a difference?
Yeah.
And the source kind of confronts this head on.
Okay.
It points out this misconception that being a true follower means doing all this stuff that seems super spiritual, like going to seminary or joining the ministry full-time, or even withdrawing from the world.
Yeah.
But if you look at what Jesus told this guy to do, it was totally the opposite.
Right.
It was like, go back to your normal life.
Yeah.
Go back to the people you know.
So I think what that shows is that our relationships, the places we go every day, whether it's our homes, our workplaces, our friends, those are the places where we can really share.
So are you saying then that it's not about waiting for this perfect moment or this perfect opportunity?
No, not at all.
Like you don't need a platform or anything like that?
No, it's about seeing those opportunities in the people you're already connected to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, the third takeaway is the simplicity of testimony.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big one for people who might be kind of hesitant or feel like they're not qualified to talk about their faith.
Exactly. And the source really emphasizes this. It actually says, evangelism is not about knowing all the answers, but about sharing what Jesus has done in our lives. Think back to the guy in Mark 5.
Yeah.
He didn't give some big theological lecture, did he?
No.
He just talked about his experience.
Right.
And that's what made it so powerful.
So it's more about just being real. Exactly.
And having it all figured out.
Yeah, because it's your story and nobody can argue with that.
Right.
It's like when somebody tells you about something they've been through, something personal, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's that vulnerability, that realness that makes it stick with you.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so the piece ends with this really powerful thought.
Okay.
It says that the first evangelist was not a scholar, a priest, or a disciple. He was a man who simply encountered Jesus and obeyed his call to tell others.
Yeah, and what I find so interesting about that is that it's saying that this idea of sharing your faith, it's not something that's just for religious leaders, right?
Exactly. It challenges that whole notion that this is something only certain people are supposed to do by highlighting the story of this, everyday guy.
Right.
It's saying that anyone who's had a real encounter has the ability to share their story.
Yeah, it's almost like democratizing it.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're saying is that this Great Commission, right, this instruction to share, to spread the message, it starts with your own story.
Right, and the source is really clear about this.
Okay.
It says, the Great Commission wasn't just for the 12 disciples, it was for all of us.
So to wrap things up here, I think what we've seen today through this story in Mark 5 and these points from tombs to testimony is that sharing your own experiences can be really powerful.
Absolutely.
And it might not be as hard as you think.
Yeah, it's not about having some fancy title or giving some perfect argument. It's about the realness of your encounter and just telling people what happened.
And the source leaves us with a really thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
And it's something I think we can all ask ourselves.
Okay.
No matter what we believe.
What's the question?
The question is, will we go and tell what the Lord has done for us? It's really making you think about your own experiences, right?
It is.
And whether you might be called in your own way, in your own life, to share those experiences with others.
Yeah.
So that's something to ponder after this deep dive.
Definitely.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.